That's why I'm in the news. I'm not in the news because I'm here. I'm in the news because the Democratic Party is here. Damn it, lower than that. Down at the bottom. They suck right now.
Stephen A. Smith has been very critical of the Democratic Party. I think rightfully so. You can see that he is he is slowly becoming a Republican. He's slowly becoming one. He voted for Kamala Harris, but he has been very critical of the Biden administration, very critical of Kamala Harris, and you see the change in his tone. One of the political analysts, as a James Carville, has been critical of Stephen A. Smith, telling Stephen A. Smith that, basically, paraphrasing, basically stay in your lane. You have no idea what you're talking about, sir. And you know what? I disagree. Stephen A. Smith, highly intelligent brother. And if this is the lane that he wants to get into, and he wants to know and learn more about politics, like myself, and understand how politics is interconnected with a lot of things. For me, it was Wall Street, right? How politicians and politics was benefiting from the crime of Wall Street that we see. Politicians front running the stock, so on and so forth. But you know what? I digress. We'll get back to Stephen A. Smith and James Carville. Let's take a look, man. Stephen A. versus James Carville. Who gonna win?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I'm going to get right into it. You know I got love for y'all, and I'm always thanking my subscribers and followers, but I got a lot of stuff to get into, particularly this first item. There's a lot of stuff to talk about today, but this is the number one thing on my mind, and I'm not going to waste a second delaying, this onslaught that's about to come. We're going to get started with Democratic strategist James Carville, who felt the need to call me out on his Politicon podcast earlier this week. The Raging Cajun, as he is affectionately known, is apparently upset with my recent political commentary where I have been critical of the state of the Democratic Party. To refresh y'all memory, here's part of what I had to say earlier that got him all up in a tizzy. Check it out.
That's why I'm in the news. I'm not in the news because I'm here. I'm in the news because the Democratic Party is here. Damn it, lower than that. Down at the bottom. They suck right now. Horrible. Because they don't have a voice. Where the hell is the voice? And everybody want to sit up there and talk about, we don't need a voice. 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 Well, guess what? Somebody got to send the message. How the hell can somebody receive a message if there's no messenger?
In response to what you just saw me saying, that's when Carville evidently lost it, and he went on his Politicon podcast and had this personal message to give to me, even though it was seen by everybody. Take a look.
Okay, I am a big Stephen A. Smith fan. I remember I saw him some years ago on TV. When it comes to politics, he don't know his from a hole in the ground. He's on that running his damn mouth about how he may have to run as a Democrat because there's nothing left of the Democratic Party. There's no talent. Stephen A., you me? I mean, you say you're friends with Wes Moore and you say you're friends with Josh Shapiro. I'm friends with both of them. I think they're really extraordinary, talented people. I got news for you, dude. There's 6 or 7 other people in the Democratic Party that are just that talented. So before you start running your mouth off about politics, a topic of which you really don't know anything about, you ought to sit back and think about it and call some people and run it by them. So Stephen A., keep up your on sports. I enjoy it. I like it, but don't make a fool of yourself anymore in talking about politics.
What I find interesting about all of this is that a lot of what James Carville himself has been saying sounds a lot like what the hell I've been saying.
And Stephen A. is true. So I saw Stephen A. made this. He made this claim, and I was like, you know what? Let me go take a look at some of the rants of James Carville. And Stephen A. Smith is right, as he's about to address it here momentarily. But listen, if you want to increase your knowledge of politics and everything that's going on with your country, my country, I think you should definitely do that. And it's okay to speak up against things that you think are wrong. And it's okay to support things that you think are right. But you're going to have some people that want you to stay in your place, like, oh, you know what, you shouldn't speak about politics. No, I think that you should speak about politics because politicians are paid by our tax dollars, okay? They're supposed to represent the citizens. And when they are dismissive and you know, it's not only this Stephen A. Smith situation here, it's politicians who make it seem as if the American people are just uninformed and they don't understand politics. No, we understand crime when we see it. We understand BS when we hear it and see it. Okay, people have woken up. I think in the past, and I speak for myself and others, we didn't really care about politics as long as, you know, we was eating and as long as things were going right in our lives and stuff like that. Okay, you know, you're good with work, good with your businesses, so on and so forth. Everyone around you is doing great. But what made me look at politics way closer is what's been happening with stocks like AMC, GME, HYMC, and others, MMTLP, even DJT, which is owned by President Donald Trump. These things are nefarious things that's been happening in the stock market, okay? Things called illegal naked short selling. You probably don't know what that is, but that's okay. But that's what brings me here, because the Securities Exchange Commission is a government department that is supposed to be they're supposed to be protecting retail investors, and they're supposed to be they're supposed to be monitoring hedge funds, market makers, stuff like that, banks. Okay, these things are not being done. As a matter of fact, the small fines that they give out for, you know, whatever crimes that are committed, it's not even 1% of the crime that was committed, of the money that was taken. And that money is never given back. So if you're a bank robber and you're allowed to steal $10 million, and the fine is the fine is only 1% or less of the $10 million that you stole, and there's no jail time for you, why in the world would you stop? Why would you? So that's the reason why it brings me here. Because now I'm like, okay, this is interlinked. Take a look at what's going on in Wall Street and how nefarious it is there. Now I'm looking at these politicians, and I know Stephen A. is like, look, these damn politicians, man, they don't make no damn sense, man. Let me go ahead and talk about this. So Stephen A., speak on it, brother.
But before I get into that, first order of business, sir, do you have to be so rude? You know, dropping F-bombs and going off like that. I mean, I know that's your nature. I understand that, but let's just say two can do that, you know. I mean, if you really wanted to get raw, ain't nobody hiding from that. I could be that way. It's just that my mama taught me to respect my elders. And you are 80 years of age, if I remember correctly. And I'm trying to be respectful, so I'm not going to come at you the way that you came at me. I thought that was completely unnecessary. That's number one. Number two.
Okay, Stephen A. basically saying he ready for the smoke. Hey, I got all the smoke you want, James. You want the smoke, James? I got the smoke for you, man. I want to see how this plays out, man. You know, Stephen A. ain't to be played with.
I religiously say I'm no political aficionado. I religiously say I don't know politics like that. I read, I watch the news, I'm a conscientious observer. But I do have to ask you a question, Mr. James Carville, albeit rhetorically. You do know that you're talking to a voter, right? Could that be one of the reasons why y'all lost? Just a thought. Because you sound like one of those old curmudgeons that want things to stay or be the way that they used to be, and you're resentful, harboring an abundance of animosity because you're not being heard. That's not Stephen A. Smith's fault, sir. That's that damn Democratic Party that I was talking about. You see, they shouldn't listen to me. Do you realize, James Carville, that means they shouldn't have listened to you either? Which makes no sense because we were both right. Because guess what? What I was saying is what you were saying. I saw you on Fox News. I saw you on CNN. I saw you on your podcast before the election. Where the hell you think I got some of the stuff from? When you were talking about the Democratic Party, I'm making that up. I'm making it up when you were lamenting their strategy. I'm making it up when I talked about Kamala Harris and not resonating with the audience. I'm making it up when I talked about woke culture. I'm making it up when I talked about they weren't focused on the right issues. I'm making that up. You didn't say any of those things? I tell you what, let's see the audience. Let's show the audience, rather, exactly what you said. I didn't say hear it. I said, let's show it to them so they can see your face. They know it's you. They know it's you, James Carville. This is you talking. Take a listen.
We have no legislative power. We have no executive power. We have no judicial power. So when you're out of power, you're an opposition party. And go and tell all of the people that are sending you and asking you for money, justify what you did, justify what you did wrong, and tell us what you're going to do different. Because what you've done ain't worth a shit. Get your head around that. And all of the Washington-based Democrats farting around, going to wine and cheese parties and talking about how misogynistic race, get your ass out of Washington and go work on a 2026 campaign and do penance to make up for your goddamn arrogance and stupidity. Well, we're going to say, we told you so. We told you this identity shit was disaster. We told you to get out in front of public safety issues. You didn't. We told you to have an open process and demonstrate the magnificent and staggering and deep talent that exists in the modern Democratic Party. You didn't. We told you to differentiate yourself from Biden. You didn't. I hate to be some fucking know-it-all, but all of these things are part of the record.
Where did I hear that before? I mean, did you hear him speaking, ladies and gentlemen? Did you hear him speaking about woke culture? Did you hear him speaking about how you needed to separate yourself from Joe Biden? Did you hear him speaking about there was no primary? You remember that stuff? Where'd y'all hear that before? Where'd you hear it before? Oh, you thought I was finished. I got more. Play the next clip of James Carville, please. Show him.
The first thing is, when somebody runs for Democratic nomination in 2028, the first thing that I want to hear out of their mouth is, I'm taking our message everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. I mean Joe Rogan, I mean Fox News, I mean Sunday morning shows, I mean everything. I'm proud of what we have to offer. I'm going to go out and promote it, and I'm going to go out and defend it, and I'm going to go out and attack them, and I'm going to do that all the time. Secondly, all of our events are going to be fun. There's going to be great music. There's going to be great comedians that are going to tell jokes before I come up. It's going to be an entirely different thing. With Dower, it's always somebody's in a pissy mood or somebody's this. And we're just people, we're just not connecting. We're not connecting at all. And it's just going to require some discipline, and it's going to require a change of attitude.
Just a little thought, Mr. James Carville. Are you sure you want to be the dude that's pointing out how the Democrats look so dour and always in a pissy mood? You sure you the right person that should deliver that message? Have you looked in the mirror? You saw yourself? You seen the way you've talked about yourself? You see the way you disseminate a message? You don't look dour? You don't look down? You don't look enthusiastic? Come on now. Listen, sir.
Stephen A got all the smoke, man. Stephen A got all the smoke with James. James, I think you picked the fight with the wrong guy, man. I think you picked the fight with the wrong guy. But you had to have known you was going to get this. You was going to get this smoke. Stephen A. Smith, he ain't for the BS, man. Stephen A. Smith is basically saying all of the things that you've said, sir. I follow Stephen A. Smith, man, and I've ever since this whole battle between you and him is going on, I've looked at a lot of your interviews, and Stephen A. basically is saying the same things that you're saying, and you're telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about, which is hilarious. Both of you are critical of the Democratic Party. Both of you have given suggestions of how the Democratic Party should proceed from here on out. And it almost sounds identical. So I think it's interesting, man. You picked the wrong fight with the wrong brother, man.
I respect you. And by the way, I appreciate your compliments about my sports career, my career in sports broadcasting, what have you. It's very kind of you. That part, very, very much so. Thank you very, very much. I do appreciate that. And I feel the same way about your political career. It's the economy, stupid. Still one of the most famous lines in political history back in 1992 when Clinton was running for office before he won the presidency. I got it. I understand. I know who you are. I know you've got your chops. I get you. But respectfully, sir, there's a couple of things that you need to understand. Most voters out there aren't political aficionados. But just because they're not doesn't mean that they don't know their ass from a hole in the wall, as you described me. I saw inflation. I saw the economy not being what the Democrats purported it was. I saw crime in the streets. I saw a crisis at our borders. I saw a president that was clearly diminished, to say the least. I saw the Democratic Party debatably, arguably engage in undemocratic behavior when you ultimately greased the skids to make sure he didn't experience a primary, to ultimately send him to that debate stage June 27th and embarrass himself, waited an additional 3 weeks for him to get out of office so you could put Kamala Harris in there without any resistance. I heard you lament that. Well, I lamented it too. I complained about it too. So we have to be as knowledgeable and as informed and as connected as James Carville to have a salient and decent opinion about what the hell is going on with the Democratic Party. That's what it takes. So respectfully, you're wrong. And you know you're wrong. Now, there's a lot of people that should have listened to you, and they made a mistake by not listening to you. I'm the exact opposite. You were one of the people that I was listening to break down the problems with the Democratic Party. But in that sound that I played for our audience, I noticed that there was a level of inconsistency there. You talked about going to see she should go and interview and sit down with everybody, the Joe Rogans of the world. The list goes on and on. Well, it's funny, sir, Mr. James Carville. I'm reading an article from Newsweek in November. And in that article before the election, you were talking about how you didn't like her strategy, or in the immediate aftermath of the election. I'm sorry. You were lamenting how you didn't like the fact that she was sitting down with everybody. Actually, I think it wasn't before the election. You were talking about how you didn't like the fact that she was going to sit down with Fox News, that she was going to go on The View, and all of this other stuff. You were talking about how you didn't like that. Now you're sitting back talking about, if I'm a Democrat, I'd be around everybody. I'd go talk to everybody. That ain't what you said months ago. That's not what you said, sir. So respectfully, let me state this again for everybody to listen. My life is pretty damn good. I have no desire to be a politician. I wouldn't want to contaminate and sully my life by entrenching myself in that cesspool in the nation's capital. I'm very, very clear about that. And the pay would be significantly less. Let me add that too, at least for the 8 years I'm in office, because I damn sure if I win the first election, I ain't losing the second. So understand, I have no desire for it. What I said was it's an absolute embarrassment that I am the person that's being mentioned and named. It's a disgrace to this Democratic Party. It shows you have no bullpen. And I know that's what got your antennas up, and that's what riled you up even more so, because you brought up how I have a relationship with Westmore and Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro, I met him one time in my life. I talked to him one time in my life. And hey, I think he's a fabulous governor for the state of Pennsylvania. And I think he knows his stuff. And I'm honored to have met him. And I'm looking forward to cultivating a relationship with him. Westmore is a different animal. I love this brother. I know him through sports, because he and I talk about the Ravens all the time. I think he's doing a damn good job with the state of Maryland. And if there is a Democratic nominee to look at, it is definitely him. I think Wes Moore is an absolute winner. I'm not apologizing for that to anybody. I did not mean to imply that there's nobody in the bullpen in terms of their capabilities, sir. What I'm saying is who's resonating with the national audience, because you got Trump and that cult-like following that he has, who will go along with whoever Trump says to go along with in the event that he doesn't manipulate the Constitution and ends up getting a third term. So you can put his vote, you can qualify that as lock, stock, and barrel. Who's the Democrat that can galvanize an audience on a nationwide level to pull off the level of support that it's going to take to upend and usurp a Trump acolyte or somebody like that in the future? Who is that person going to be?
I understand what Stephen A. is saying. I get it. The Democrats need to do this, man, in my opinion. Because what's happening right now is they are just losing, man. President Donald John Trump is he's flooding the zone. Okay, you got DOJ, Department of Government Efficiency, headed up by Elon Musk at the behest of Donald John Trump, and they're exposing what looks to be crime. It looks like there is a lot of fraud, and people are going to have to answer for this. You do realize this, right? This is coming. There's going to be people, in my opinion, that's going to go to prison over this. And it's probably going to be some of your favorite politicians that might go to prison for this. They weaponized the Department of Justice. They weaponized the FBI against Donald Trump. They tried to get this man on some ridiculous charges, man. Ridiculous charges. And there's plenty of people that spoke up about this. Professionals in New York that were in real estate have spoken up about this. I think what you're seeing right now is the very beginning of crime that's exposed, man, on the political front. And I think people are going to be surprised at what happens, man. I think there's going to be politicians that actually go to prison for this. I mean, this is crazy. They need to answer. They need to answer, how in the world are you worth the amount of money that you're worth off the salary that you have? Those are going to be some hard questions to answer, man. And I think what the Democrats need to do, I think they need to distance themselves from the politicians that they know are nefarious. The politicians that you know for sure that are committing crime, okay? They're stealing from the American public. They're enriching themselves through our tax dollars, right? We are the taxpayers. You guys need to go ahead and put those people on Front Street, man. Distance yourself from them and say, look, these are the people that are committing crime, and you might be labeled a snitch, but we as American citizens, we're gonna be okay with you snitching in that regard because they're taking our money. So if you are not a criminal, if you're a Democrat and you're not a criminal, and especially if you're in the know, if you know what's going on, and quite possibly you're one of the potential leaders that's coming up, you need to start snitching. You need to start you need to start talking about your fellow Democrats, man, that are nefarious. We need the criminals out of government. We need as many of them out of government as possible, and we need the criminals out of Wall Street. This is what we want, man. This is what we want. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith, man. He said it, man. I got all the smoke you can handle, baby.